If you walk away, you won't hear me say, please, oh baby. Simple and clean is the way that you're making me feel tonight. While listening to Cosmere Chronicles, the podcast we follow two first-time readers, Sheta and Justin, and we chronicle their journey through Brand Sanderson's Cosmere series. On today's episode, we'll be chronicling Warbreaker Chapters 29 through 33. So now, let's throw it over to the host of Cosmere Chronicles. This is Joe. Thank you, Joe. Yep, everyone. Once again, we're back. This is Cosmere Chronicles, and I'm Joe. And, we are welcomed here by the AI voices of Justin and the real-life voice of Sheta.
Hello, I am Justin.
What would the real Justin say?
Non sequitur, something borderline offensive. Ha 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 ha.
See? Sounds just like the real thing. You'll never know the difference.
Kill all humans. Hello.
Well,
Why do
he
you have
doesn't
a
have the
weird
power for that yet.
You have to change the prompts. Sound like Justin, but make him more cool. We do the AI.
Hey.
That's more like it. That's more like Justin.
He's gonna talk like the Fonz now.
Yeah, more cool.
Hey.
That is not the Fonz. That is the wrong 70s character.
Also cool though. So it works.
I do that.
That's the 80s/90s. I think more 90s. Alright, so let's get done with this terrible opening segment and instead go to just a terrible opening segment where we talk about random shit and stuff like that. Well, I've enjoyed our talks of saying stuff that's like you feel is underrated and everything like that. So, one thing I thought about is
those are the hardest ones.
It's okay. It'll only get harder. So now I just want to ask, what do you think is like one of the top underrated live action shows?
Farscape, easy. Farscape should be as popular as all the other, puppet space shows out there, but it's not. Most people have never heard of it, even though it's one of the greatest shows ever made.
I don't know. Underrated? Like, what does that mean? Like, no one knows about it, or?
It's not as popular as it deserves to be.
I don't know because I'm not very aware of the world. So I'm like, is it popular? Like, I feel like it's more popular because I really like Peaky Blinders, and I know that's a pretty it's not unknown. Like, people know about it, but I feel like it's underrated or
I don't know. I see gifs of it all the time online. I don't know if that in the modern world means something's known or people just like that one scene.
Exactly. Like, you can be a meme, but it doesn't mean that you're actually being watched and stuff. So yeah, I'll just say that. And also maybe 24.
24 is not underrated. That was one of the most popular shows of its time. It had how many seasons?
Okay, don't tease me. I told you I prefaced it.
Oh man, how many was it?
I think it's 8, and then they made a mini one after in a movie.
Well, no, the movie was in the middle of it. The movie was... Yeah,
I know. I didn't mean the movie was after. I mean, they also made another season, mini season, and they had made a movie.
So it was, 8 regular seasons. You had the 9th half season, and then the half season of 24 Legacy.
Oh, fuck that shit. No, thank you.
Tony Almeida was on it, so it crossed over.
I don't care.
I love Tony. He's the best.
All right. My underrated show, I guess I will go with Prison Break. Because nowadays, no one really talks about it.
That's what I'm saying about 24.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I might have to... Prison Break was super popular. It would have stayed popular if the writing didn't get all weird in the last season. And the writer's strike definitely hurt it.
Seasons 1 and 2 were great. But even then, it wasn't as big as some other shows. And it's just not, even to this day, not really talked about as much. From that time period, people talk about Lost still and stuff like that.
Man,
but
Prison Break got a revival series. Farscape didn't get that.
But yeah, if people have not watched... If you've not watched Prison Break, go watch. Seasons 1 and 2 are fantastic. They're great.
Season 3 has some good moments, but it does kind of get weird. And Season 4 is not very good.
And Season 3 had one decision they made that's like, man, this is dumb. This is really bad decision. Then Season 4, they try to backtrack that decision. It's like, wow, to backtrack this decision, you made another dumb decision. And another underrated show I guess I'll throw out there would be Nip Tuck.
Nip Tuck was not underrated either. That was an incredibly popular show. That launched those guys' careers. They can do whatever they want now.
But it's not really... People don't really bring it up nowadays anymore.
That's like me saying Happy Days is an underrated show.
Yeah.
People still bring up Happy Days. You're talking about it, jumpstart those guys' career? I have not seen Sean McNamara.
Oh, no, not the actors, the creators, the people behind it.
Oh,
have been making shit since then.
Oh, but yeah, like Nip Tuck seasons 1 through 4 were great. 5 and 6 had some good episodes, but a lot of dumb stuff in there. And that show's also where I first saw Peter Dinklage. All right, and then I don't know if I ever asked it, but we'll just ask: which Batman movie is your favorite?
Batman movie, you say?
Yes, which Batman movie?
Well, this might be controversial, but I like Batman and Robin.
Probably the last thing anyone expected to hear there, Sheta.
I just enjoyed all the cartoony villains and I did watch it as a kid, so I'm sure if it came out now, like, I would not like it at all.
I still stand by that is the most comic accurate Batman. Even
what
if
about
the movie's
Bane?
Kind of stupid. Oh, no. Not Gotham, not villains, just Batman himself. Everyone else is awful.
Comic accurate Bat. The problem is so many different Batmen, even in the comics. Like, I would say what Pattinson's Batman is pretty accurate to like some of the 80s comics.
Of the comics. Everyone else is trying so hard to be serious.
All right, Justin, what about your favorite Batman movie?
It's a big fucking question, man. I think I'm just gonna be super basic and say The Dark Knight. Just cause it's cool. No real deep thing, just it's the coolest one.
Oh, that's valid. If you're a like funny.
Oh, a basic bitch.
Yeah.
I like Dark Knight, but I might like Batman Begins more. Just the origin story, him creating everything, I thought was really cool in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did that well. That was cool.
Yeah.
Then my guilty pleasure Batman movie is Batman Forever. I enjoy watching that movie, even though it's objectively, it's not really a good movie. And I just found out the other day, it was nominated for 3 Academy Awards.
The world agrees. The entire world agrees.
My honorable mention will probably just be Batman Mask of the Phantasm, just because it's so badass that they did a theatrical release of the animated series. I wish I would have seen that in theaters. That would have been epic.
I still haven't watched that one.
Well, as an episode of the show, it's not even like my favorite. It's just the fact that it got on the big screen. That's really cool.
All right. Well, that'll be enough talking about random stuff. So let's get back into Brandon Sanderson and Warbreaker. So we'll start off by recapping last episode. We'll go with Justin this time.
What do you mean we'll go with? I thought we were trading. Thought there was a system here.
Yeah, but last time was Nick, and I don't remember who went before that.
Oh, it was definitely me. So Sheta has to go.
No, it was your turn.
So chapters 22 through 24 recap. Go. To start you off, Vivenna went to a meeting.
Yes, and a guy got killed, and she's starting to think Denth might be a bit shady. Siri decided to order a storyteller with Lightsong, and he said, "Don't trust me or anyone." Something else happened. That's all I got. I am drawing a blank.
Lightsong investigated stuff at Mercy Star's palace.
Oh, yeah. We found out the squirrel is still around. He's very suspicious.
Important.
Very important.
And Vivenna was accused by Denth of having feelings for Parlin.
Yeah, I remember a lot of talking about what their plans were. A lot of setup, that's what I remember. So I'm having trouble mixing these chapters and the ones before.
Yep. Yeah, that's the thing is last time you said that you were getting kind of sick of Vivenna just going to meetings.
Well, at least a guy got stabbed last time.
Yeah. Getting really exciting.
So going to the chapters we went to for this week, we read chapters 29 through 33. So how are you feeling about these chapters that we read?
Well, we got more Susabron, so I loved him. And
Yeah,
a
that
lot
stuff was
of
interesting.
info. Yeah.
A lot of info. Interesting way to do a lore dump. Just grab a storyteller.
Yeah. I was like, good. I got my popcorn. I was just like, tell me everything.
Well, honestly, I expected to learn a lot more. I feel like most of what we learned, we kind of already knew, just not officially.
What? We got so much history, though. That's what I liked learning about.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel like we got so much history and enough crumbs to put stuff together, which I really put stuff together. I was like, okay, trying to connect all these dots that they gave us.
I look forward to hearing your theories.
All right, so let's go into, let's start diving into the summary for these chapters for this week. So starting off with chapter 29, and we're with Susabron and Siri. And Susabron, he starts off asking Siri to tell him about the mountains. And she explains her homeland to him. And she also notes that Susabron has gotten much better at writing. And she wished that she could get him books to read. And while she's describing the mountains, she mentions that they extend upwards towards Austra's domain. And Susabron asks who Austra is, and Siri apologizes, saying that she should not mention other gods. And Susabron thinks that she means another returned. But she says that Austra is not one.
The more we learn about his level of ignorance, the more I just want to see a whole spin-off of how he learned anything he learned. Because to not know that there's other religions out there is absolutely fascinating to me. To have no concept of a god who's like a traditional god like we think of it is really interesting.
It's interesting because Austra's not even the only other god. Like, we have the other religions and stuff like that, you know? And for them to have sheltered him from that concept makes me really sad.
And Siri asks if the other priests mentioned other religions, but Susabron doesn't understand what she means by other religions. And she explains that not everyone worships the returned. The Idrians worship Austra, and the Ponkal people worship something else. Susabron asks who Austra is, and Siri says that Austra is more like a force, and that you can't see Austra. Alright, and Susabron asks if she does not like those like himself, and she says that she likes him, thinks that he is sweet, which he feels isn't how a god king should be seen as. And Susabron says that he would like to see the mountains because Siri seems to love them a lot. And he says that mountains are likely beautiful, but that the most beautiful thing in them has already come down to him, which causes Siri to blush.
Oh, God. Oh, God, he's getting poetic.
Look, you're so corny to say that.
Well, he's not an expert at that kind of stuff yet.
He's like 500 years old or something.
Yeah, and he's never talked to a girl.
He's 50.
Okay, 50.
Yeah, plenty of 50-year-olds already who are just as bad at this shit.
And Siri calls him a charmer, but he says that he's only saying what he, sees.
And he explains that with how many breaths he has, he doesn't see things like other people. All colors are beauty in his eyes. And so when he speaks of beauty, then he speaks of things other than just colors and how they look. And while talking about this, Siri becomes very aware about how close they're sitting to each other, and also about the fact that she's only wearing her shift right now. Susabron says that maybe he could ask his priest to allow Siri to visit Idris. He had been taught the artisan script, so that way he can communicate with his priest when he needs to. But Siri asks him not to, and that it would be a bad thing for them to learn that she has been talking to him. She says that they are planning to kill him, and Susabron responds that she has no proof of that, and that his priests are good people. And Siri asks Susabron how he would pass on his breaths that he has, but he doesn't know how. She suggests that maybe the priest could take them from him and give them to his son, which would be what kills him. Because he has too many breaths for them to allow all those breaths to die with him. And so they keep on giving those breaths to the next God King. And he already has his divine breath, but he has a bunch of it on top of it. And maybe he could use all those extra breaths to awaken, and that's why his tongue was removed. Next, Susubron gets up and he walks over to a window, looking out. And he says that it is petulant of him, but he is upset that she does not think that the returned are divine. You know, the reason that she treats him like this is maybe because she doesn't see him as a god. And he says that he is a god, and if she doesn't believe that, then maybe she doesn't really understand him. Siri touches his arm and rests against it. She tells him that she doesn't have to believe that he is divine in order to understand him. There are others, such as Bluefingers, who don't see him as a god either. But she is someone willing to look past his godhood and just get to know him. Susubron says that that is comforting, but it is strange to be a god whose wife doesn't believe in him. And Siri is taken aback at the reminder that they are, in fact, already married. And then Susubron puts his arm around Siri.
It's really interesting that we've gotten to the point where he really hasn't been touched for most of his life. And now they're feeling kind of comfortable brushing arms and doing that kind of stuff. As she says in there, this is getting dangerous. It's only a matter of time before things get, as they get.
Saucy.
What's that? Foxy, did you say?
Saucy.
Oh, saucy.
All according to plan.
Whose plan?
The gods' plans.
The
Gods'
gods?
plans. Yeah.
Is this part of your theory or just a weird thing you're saying?
That's just a weird thing I'm saying.
Oh, see, I can't tell with you.
I don't know. They'd have to be like really liking each other though. Still slow going.
what?
They're too shy. They haven't even gone to first base yet, so
Oh, God.
I feel like it's that maybe they'll hold hands by the next episode. I'm not sure. It's not that dangerous. They got a long way to go.
All right, and then the chapter jumps over to, Denth and Vivenna and their whole group. And Denth has brought Vivenna back to the Denner garden among all those stone soldiers, and they see 4 dead bodies. And these bodies have been killed by Vasher, because the skin around the sword wounds have been completely drained of color. As they leave, Denth tells her that these were a gang of thieves that he had worked with. Vivenna asks what happened to their skin, and Denth says that it was from Vasher's sword. Tongfa suggests that they should steal the sword, but Denth exclaims that he is not touching that thing. And he says that they need to make Vasher draw the sword, and that Vasher won't be able to keep it out for long. After that, then they can kill him easily. Jules points out that Vasher had killed Arsteel, but Denth claims that he did not beat Arsteel in a duel. When Jules point out that Arsteel wasn't killed by, Vasher's sword, then Denth claims that Vasher had used a trick. As they continue to walk, Vivenna gets a feeling that someone with a lot of breaths was watching her. And then we cut over to Vasher, who is watching them. And Nightblood points out that, hey, it's Varatrelides, and that they should go talk to him. And through the conversation, we're able to figure out that Denth is the name that Varatrelides goes by now.
And
Denth is
Nightblood...
a much easier name. I wouldn't want to go by Varatrelides.
And Nightblood asks if Shashara is here, and Vasher says that they killed her long ago. Nightblood says that she created him and made him to destroy things that were evil. Vasher focuses on Vivenna and that he needs to do something about her. Because of her, so many things were falling apart. He doesn't know how Denth had found her or kept her in control. And Vasher was tempted to jump down and let Nightblood kill her. And then he turns away and he thinks, later. And that's the end of the chapter.
Seems like a nice guy. I'm so curious what his role in this is going to turn out being.
Yeah, so far he's like outside of our main party, like Siri and Ravenna's crew. And we still don't know that much about him and what he's up to. So, yeah.
It's interesting to be having a Kelsier type that we're not following. That's how this feels to me.
Yeah.
Because from the outskirts, Kelsier would seem like a real bad guy, but once you get to know his stuff, he's at least on your side. So I'm really curious to see where this guy falls and things, especially where stuff's going with Vivenna and Siri.
Mm-hmm. Still, even though we haven't really seen him do much, like, really heroic stuff, I don't think he's a bad guy, which is weird. Is that just because of his personality, I wonder?
Well, so far, who is a good and bad guy, I don't know that we've. I don't know that we've really seen any.
Yeah, it's all gray.
So far, but that's also because we know so little about what's going on.
Yes, gosh, I feel like Vivenna don't know anything.
Anything else from this chapter either of you two want to go over?
I miss back when it was one character per chapter.
This is very chaotic, yeah. We saw everyone in here. Yeah, Siri, Vivenna, and Basher.
Not Lightsong.
Yeah, not Lightsong. I always forget. He's like, I don't count him. Maybe he's a half person because he doesn't have his memories.
Yeah, I don't worship that god. He's not a person.
He's not. I have a theory.
Uh-oh. You haven't had theories for a bit, but it sounds like getting you all this little information has really changed that.
I was ready for these chapters, and all the pieces I've had in place have been activated.
All right, then. So, if we have nothing else to go over, then we'll move on to the next chapter, which is Chapter 30. And chapter begins with Blushweaver arriving at Lightsong's pavilion, and she asks, what is going on? Because Lightsong is currently trying and failing to make pottery on a pottery wheel. Yeah, and then we do not get the scene from Ghost with the two of them.
Aww.
And he tells her that he has learned that he is just not very good at pottery. But he does show her something else because he picks up 5 lemons and then just begins to juggle them. And Blushweaver shows some actual concern for him, thinking that he's like going insane or something like that. And then he tells her to pick up a guava and tosses it to him, and then he just catches it and juggles that along with the rest of the lemons. After finishing juggling, Lightsong explains to her that he has learned today that he knows a surprising number of sailing terms, he is fantastic at mathematics, and he has a good eye for sketches. And he has also learned that he knows nothing about the dye industry, horses, or gardening, and he has no talent for sculpting, pottery, or foreign languages.
No, do I think he was actually a detective in a previous life if he doesn't know the basics of horse riding? Doesn't, like, every high-up person in a world like this kind of know about that? Because that's how you get anywhere?
Unless he wasn't high up person.
What are you thinking?
I have a theory about who he is.
Let's hear it.
Okay, he's a really good swordsman, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of a detective person. My theory is... Oh.
Sorry, he is not a good swordsman. He says that he assumes that he is a good swordsman. He did not actually use any sort of sword.
I'm still waiting, Sheta.
That he was the previous owner of the Nightblade. Maybe he was even our Steel, their old friend.
Oh, God.
Then I was like, when did he die, though? I'm not sure. And I was like, was it 5 years ago?
I don't know if they've said that. They just say it happened in the past. That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Because why did he know how to juggle? That's the real question.
Because they were a weird circus group. Of course he'd learn how to do something. They're a circus group? Yeah.
Where'd that come from?
They have a monkey. They have weird things they do. Like, they're just a weird group. So I feel like he would fit in.
They're an ex-circus group who fell into the mercenary gang. Is that, or crowd? Is that what you're saying?
You gotta do what you gotta do to survive on the streets. So learning to juggle, I think, would be one of the things. Yeah. That's why the stuff he knows is really random too. Like, he's resourceful, and so is a mercenary. Like, yeah, that's some things he says, and also his humor reminds me of the other guy's humors. Like
that could be. It'd be interesting if some elements of your personality did carry over, like subtle ones. Mm-hmm. Like if you're clever, it's because you were clever in the other life. Stuff like that.
Yes.
I'm actually really surprised that more of these gods don't like spend time trying to figure out what they're good at like he is and try to kind of glean clues on what their lives were. That'd be something I don't know, maybe I wouldn't if I was a god, but that'd be something I'd be very, very curious about, especially...
I love that, yeah.
When you don't need to learn how to like talk and read and stuff, that seems pretty weird to just wake up and be able to do,
I thought this whole part of him experimenting was so funny and interesting.
Yeah, I enjoyed this too.
Because I would too. I'd be like, "What's going on? Why can't I juggle? Why?" And just
the juggling's the funniest one.
Yeah, because that's like a practiced skill, you know?
Yes.
And then I
But
also
once you
have
learn
something.
it, yeah.
There's a lot of weird patterns to all of this. Like,
What do you
I'm getting ahead of myself. We're not there in the chapters, so continue.
Also, Sheta, I have some bad news for you.
Bad news. Why?
I had to look it up. So back in chapter 19, Tonkfa tells Vivenna that Vasher had killed Arsteel a couple months back.
Okay, that's okay.
It's okay, that would have been pretty cheesy anyways.
Yeah, and I don't know how it would connect or be important because I feel like that guy, you know, he could still be someone else, but I don't feel like he would be Lightsong.
So what are the skills we know he has? Juggling, detective work. What was the other one?
Numbers.
Boat terms, math.
Oh, actually, I have a more than one theory for who Lightsong is. So
Well, he was probably a rich guy if he knows about boating and mathematics. You know, not a lot of peasants know about those things. Juggling, I mean, I
people
assume
have
that would
weird
just be a
hobbies.
hobby.
Yeah.
Unless he was like a mathematician jester detective. That's my current current theory.
Yes. You know, one of the many people who are.
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay.
Also, he was
Ooh.
likely close with his priest guy. I forget the name, sorry.
Yeah, that's his friend.
Larimar.
Larimar.
All right. And Lightsong explains that these are all things that he was good at before he died. And Blushweaver tells him that they are not supposed to worry about who they were before they died. Lightsong asks if she ever wondered who she was, and Blushweaver says that, she was boring beforehand, and so she doesn't want to know. And she knows she was boring because she was an ordinary person. And she asks him why he wants to know who he was before. And he tells her that she should try some of these things to see how good they are. There must have been something special about her for her to return. And so she suggests that the two of them go and have sex and see if they're any good at that. All right. And
she has a habit of making sex and seduction feel kind of tedious. She's always bringing it up. And you're like, no, I'm trying to talk about something.
Her sexiness and all that, I feel like she's not very good at actually seducing.
I don't know. I'm sure most people she has already done that with. It just seems like he resists that kind of stuff.
Does it like Jack Sparrow? It's funny. I keep being reminded of the line he says. I don't remember. I'm sorry. It's like, I happen to have no dress on my ship. Like, you can. I don't remember the line.
Oh, just those kind of innuendo lines?
Yeah, like.
I see. Well, she points it out later in this chapter. I thought it was funny. When all else fails, fall back on innuendo.
Yeah.
All right. So then the two of them head over to the palace of Hopefinder, who is the god of innocence and beauty. And Hopefinder looks like a 13-year-old boy, but he has also been returned for 11 years. He had originally returned when he was only 2 years old, and a returned body will continue to age until they reach their prime age. And their like minds and stuff are more advanced than like their level of where they are. So while he is a 13-year-old body, his mind is not really one of a 13-year-old.
Mm.
And Hopefinder tells them that there was a particularly hard petition today for a woman whose child is dying, and she has already lost her other 3 children and husband in the past year. Blushweaver is surprised that Hopefinder is considering this, but Hopefinder says that he just feels old and perhaps it is time for him to go. And then Hopefinder and Blushweaver, they begin to discuss Idris. Hopefinder says the new queen is bringing stability and that he does not believe Blushweaver's claims that the Idrians will use her to play for the throne. Blushweaver brings up rumors of the second princess that is causing a ruckus in the city, which surprises Lightsong. Hopefinder says that the Idrians are always causing disturbance, but it won't lead anywhere, kind of like that rebellion a few months ago. But Blushweaver says that, if they are claiming that they have a royal agent, then that could cause things to go out of hand very quickly. And during all this, Blushweaver is doing her usual, trying to like flirt to show off her body. And Lightsong notices that Hopefinder is not distracted by Blushweaver's beauty at all. While Hopefinder does have the mind of an adult, a part of him is still like a child. And while looking at him, Lightsong just thinks about how the returned all have different body styles. kind of like how, Blushweaver and Mercy Star, they're both, meant to be like the epitome of female beauty, but one is skinny and one is more curvaceous. Hopefinder's like a small boy. A lot of those other gods he hung out with before were all just almost exactly the same besides the hair color. All Mother's like an old woman god. And he also thinks about how there have been fat gods in the past. And there was
I
a
like
time...
his theory that they might be the ideal of what a person should look like in the time. I thought that was interesting. Implying that, like, society dictates what they're like. It's a very strange idea.
Interesting.
And he thinks about how some things survive this transformation, like they're thinking of what the ideal is and, what their different skills are. But other things, like memory, did not survive, their transformation. And Hopefinder pretty much tells Blushweaver, hey, stop trying to, have sex with me. I'm not going to do it. And he also says that he will not be swayed by Blushweaver's paranoia.
How are you going to do this scene in the live action movie? This is going to come off as so fucking creepy, no matter how much you try to explain it.
What? Her coming on, Dan?
This vivacious anime girl character bending over and trying to seduce a young boy actor. It's just going to come off as fucking weird.
Yeah.
You'd need quite a director to pull it off.
This is pretty, like, I was like, whoa.
Likely all they would do is just have the scene, but get rid of her flirting with the boy.
Yeah, but then you didn't do the scene. I hate that bullshit.
Yeah, you gotta do it. And the whole point is that he's an older person in a young body.
And it actually tells us a lot about the different gods and the characters and how they're different from each other.
You have to do it. If you play off the show like it's more edgy, it'll be fine.
No, it's filming it.
13-year-old boys are, like, they like girls at that age,
I feel like you're entirely missing my point. I'm not talking about 13-year-old boys. I'm talking about the entire scene would just come off as so weird. That's all.
Like, aren't there, coming of age movies about that and stuff? And it's handled fine,
You like?
I'm not gonna
Harold
say
and Maude.
Yeah.
Harold and Maude is very different.
Like Lolita, Sheta? Is that what you're thinking?
No, like that. There's that scene in King of the Hill when Joseph kisses.
That's a cartoon. What are you talking about?
So like, but then he was checking her out and stuff, and it was just like,
you
oh,
are
he's awkward.
totally
It's funny.
I am not talking about the content of the scene. That's fine. You cannot use cartoons as examples.
All right, let's just move on. Blushweaver says that she has contacts in the God's King's Palace, and that, it's not just paranoia that she has. But Hopefinder also says that he has contacts in the palace as well. And Lightsong is pretty much like, I don't have contacts. Could I have some of yours? Hopefinder says that, she wants his army of Lifeless. And Blushweaver responds with asking what will it cost to get them. Hopefinder explains that he loathes their government. The gods listen to the arguments by the priest, but the only ones that have any sway in a field really are the only votes that matter. They've lived in peace for his entire 11 years, and he sees more peace in the future. So him holding on to the armies have meant nothing for his votes. He says that Blushweaver sits on the Council of Social Ills, so he will give her his Lifeless in exchange for her vote. She doesn't answer immediately, and then he's just like, see? Told you it's not so easy to do that. And then Blushweaver finally is like, alright, sure, I'll do it. And this makes Lightsong think that she really is serious about this. He had thought that this had just been another one of her games, but she sincerely thought Hallandren was in danger. And he also thinks about how Hopefinder is giving away his sacred obligation, all because he has grown bored.
Oh, I was pissed at him for this. I was pissed at him, and in a couple sentences when they say that the other girl did it, I'm like, why would you give so much power away? You really don't fucking care, Because they're like, oh, there's just peace, but what if her intentions aren't good? They're not pure.
I don't think he cares.
I know, that's why I'm mad. These are supposed to be our gods, and they're not actually caring about what's in our interests.
Shouldn't have propped them up.
Well, I don't disagree with that. I certainly wouldn't worship them.
And then Lightsong then remembers a fragment of a memory. What he remembers is a shining room, glowing, reflecting light, a room of steel, a prison. Hopefinder gives Blushweaver his Lifeless security phrase, And he tells her that there is a vote that evening, and that she will vote in favor of the reformist arguments. After they leave Hopefinder, Lightsong asks Blushweaver if the two of them had just been manipulated. But Blushweaver says that they've only been manipulated if it turns out there is not a war. And then she says that Mercy Star had given her lifeless commands yesterday because of how Lightsong had taken an interest in the incident at her palace.
Yeah, she's dumb as shit.
Blushweaver commends him for doing that, but he says that he was just curious. And he asks her if she thinks that he would ever lie to her. And she says that he does lie every single time. He says he does not want to sleep with her. And she asks him why he went to help, at Mercy Star's palace. And he says that he doesn't know. He thinks that he might have been an officer of the law in his previous life. That might explain how he had died in a bold way. He believes that if he picked up a sword, then he'd have to be one of the best duelists the city has ever seen. But one thing he cannot figure out is how juggling fits into all of it.
He's getting an inflated sense of what he was. I think he's just going to turn out to have been something stupid.
Well, you can't deny that he died bravely.
Well, I can. I don't know how much of this is true.
I was saying that too. I was like, well, they just said that.
Yeah.
What do we
I wonder
believe?
if maybe he knows about the investigation stuff because he was a criminal. That could be the other one.
Yeah.
He came into town. Him and his troop would sail into town to do circuses, and then they'd go in and they'd steal stuff. And that's why pottery was never involved. A rich person would know about pottery. All the pieces are there.
All right. Anything else in this chapter you two want to go over?
I think we need a pool on if he's going to bang her or not, though. It's getting ridiculous how often they're talking about that.
Oh, I know. Maybe they banged a lot in the past.
I don't think they did.
Maybe she's his sister.
What the? My bet is on no. I don't think they're going to.
I will also say no. There's too
really?
much going on.
Then we don't have a bet.
Yeah, I just don't think that he is interested in that. Like, he's not interested in anything because he's so bored. So I just don't think anything would compel him to do that. Unless she turns out to be his beloved wife of old or something.
Well, isn't she? She died before him, right? Or came back? Is she
I have
older or
a
younger? I
theory
forget.
that it doesn't matter. She's in there.
Yeah, she is one of the older gods in the court.
Why does it not matter, Sheta?
Because the returned have more than one spirit in them.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you think that's why he has multiple talents?
Yep. And that's why
Then
it's
why
so
does
random.
Laramar talk about him like he knows him?
Because he does know him.
Oh, because it's the body, right? Right, the body he knows, but not the
he
person
knows
necessarily.
One of them, yeah. One of the people in Lightsong he knows.
Hmm.
So the real question is, who sleeps with each other first? Will it be Lightsong Blushweaver, Siri Susabron, or Vivenna Denth?
Ooh, let's see.
Yeah, I'm not rooting for Vivenna Denth.
No, I have my new ship for Vivenna, and you don't want to know.
Oh, God, no,
God.
Sheta, no! No, God, what is wrong with you?
We'll get to that later.
I think we should just quit the podcast now to make sure we don't get to that.
Okay, go on. Let's go.
All right. So, did my thing go better that time, or am I still cutting out a bunch?
It doesn't seem to be as bad as it was before, at least not for me.
Yeah, it seems pretty normal.
Okay. Hopefully it stays like that then. All right. So let's go on to chapter 31. All right, and so Vivenna is heading to meet with the Idrians, and Denth is asking her if they really need to go through with this. She says yes, because they are her people. And Denth says they can just meet with the leaders in neutral ground, and it is not necessary to go to where the simple people are. But Vivenna says that she cares about them. And pretty much everybody in their group is here except Parlan, who's been left back at their safe house. Because Denth did not trust the safety here, and Parley would be one less body to protect. As they are heading into the slums, Vivenna is disgusted by all the thugs, gangs, and prostitutes that she sees. And she says that she cannot believe that her people are forced to live among these people. But then Denth tells her that these people are the Idrians. And he has seen it in cities all around the world. People from outside move in, they make their own little community, which winds up getting ignored by the city at large. And this is why the Idrians have a bad reputation in the rest of the city. the nice and kind people don't tend to last very long in a slum. Vivenna gets very upset to see how her people have been turned into this. She thinks about how Hallandren ruined her people just like how it ruined her by dominating her entire life and forcing her to honor the obligation to be taken and raped in the name of protecting Idris. She hates this city. Vivenna stops to give a speech to the people. She tells them that she is here to give them comfort and support. The king cares for them, and she will find a way to bring them home. And some of the people just begin to walk away. And Thame is there, and he tells her that they simply wanted to confirm if she really was who that said that she was. She tells the people that their lives can be better, and one of the people responds that their life already is better. Thame tells her that these people are patriots, and her being here does mean something. They will do anything to get back at Hallandren, but Vivenna thinks they aren't patriots, but just some people being held together by their disdain for Hallandren. Vivenna meets with 3 slumlords in a shed. Paxson is the gentleman Idrian, and he got his money from running brothels. Ashu is known for running underground fighting leagues. Rira is self-indulgent and sloppy, and is also Thame's employer. Vivenna tells them that war is coming, but Ashu is not convinced that it is. Vivenna says that, it is coming, and she is here to make certain that the war goes well for Idris. Ashu asks if this means that a royal will be put on the throne of Hallandren, but Vivenna says that she doesn't want that. She just wants her people to survive. And Ashu calls it a weak middle ground, and that wars are fought to be won.
It's interesting to me how all of these chapters are. Vivenna has some ideal, everyone disagrees with her, and they're usually right, like over and over again.
She just learns her lessons over and over the hard way.
Like, it's so funny that she comes in. We talked about before, she seems like the more knowledgeable, but she is one of the most ignorant people I've ever seen as a main character in a book, doesn't understand how people work, doesn't understand how a society works. When she says, oh, we're going to fight the war to help the people, like that doesn't mean anything. That's not a real goal, and it's so interesting to be following a character like that as one of our primary protagonists.
It is. She has good morals and ideals in her, but they don't mean anything in the real world.
And though there are, I wondered what the arc of this character was going to be. And some people hold on to their ideals and force the world to, abide by them, or happily die in the world because of their ideals. But she's just getting more and more realistic as the book goes on, showing that her faith was not as strong as she thought it was, not even close,
Well, when you're faced with all these, hard facts and stuff, and
but when you think of a real religious person, a turn the other cheek to Stipe, I'm all for it religious person, the real world wouldn't affect them because they know there's a greater thing,
Yeah, when she's not a priest or anything,
Yeah,
like
but
a
she
nun.
thought of herself as incredibly devout and incredibly strong of faith, so much so that she won't even, use a breath, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the more she gets confronted with, she's nothing like she thought, and I find that very interesting.
Yeah, her stuff seems to just be let's put her through the mill and see what comes out like.
Yeah. And I always like stories like that, whether the character stays true or does not. I think it's a really interesting kind of story.
It seems really funny to do.
It's
to be like, all right, let's break this part. Let's now break this part and see.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like this is being created to break her, everything that happens here. I mean, not by the writer. I mean, by Denth and the people.
That I don't know. I don't think so, but I could see that being true too.
Yeah, I thought this whole thing was being created to break her because it was too well done and too specific. Why would that happen? But I don't know.
It's later when he tries to convince her that her reactions aren't bad when she gets scared of death, for later on. That's what makes me think that they're not, which I'll touch upon when we get there.
Yeah.
All right. Ashu asks what they would wind up getting out of it if Idris overthrew the city. Paxson doesn't like the talk of overthrowing the city because all of them had already lost money before on the Var Rebellion. But Vivenna says that she didn't say anything about overthrowing the city, and she just wants to bring people hope. Paxson says that he wants commitments, and asks if titles will be handed out. And Rira asks if Fafin's hand, Vivenna's sister, will be available for marriage.
That's a big fucking ask.
Hey, is your half sister still available?
Yeah.
Your hot monk sister.
Yeah, that's even more hot. Because she knows she wasn't messing around.
Oh, God, no.
All right, so Vivenna gets up to leave, but Denth says that it took a lot of effort for this meeting. And Rira calls out Vivenna for judging them, and says that is not very Idrian of her.
Every time she gets so judgmental and bitchy, I don't know that much about their religion, but I'm like, this seems like the exact opposite. It's fascinating how her very nature is so at odds with her faith, and those things are conflicting so much.
And Vivenna snaps back and says that Rira is not obedient to Astra, but then Rira pulls out an ostracism charm. He says that his father came down from the Highlands and that Rira has pulled himself up and worked hard to make things better for the Idrians in the city. Vivenna points out that he made the Idrians into prostitutes, but Rira says that he gives them food.
Sounds like one of those super religious mobster guys.
And then shouts begin to come from outside. They go outside and they see Lifeless wearing purple and yellow uniforms, which is the City Watch. And I will say, as a fan of the Minnesota Vikings, it almost made me want to cheer for the City Watch.
I've got to say, fucking purple and yellow as your fucking police uniform is one of the most non-threatening colors I've ever seen coming at me.
Hey, it can go well. It works on football uniforms.
Football uniforms are not police officers. They're basically superhero costumes.
The Lakers look all right, as much as I dislike the Lakers.
We're not having a conversation about if they look all right. I'm saying there's much scarier color combinations.
It depends on the shades.
I suppose. You show me a shade of purple and yellow that's going to put the fear of God in me.
Okay.
Also, it
Challenge
makes sense
accepted.
It makes sense for the fact they're in a city that's just full of color.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's going to look even less threatening because you're used to it.
Unless they look very regal, Justin.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying if a bunch of gray zombies come at me, I'm not going to be too worried about what they're wearing. I'm going to piss my pants either way. I'm just saying it's a funny description.
And then Vivenna runs off with Denth and Tongfa. Tongfa says that it's okay, this is just a raid. It should not be too bad. But then the other people in the area begin fighting. Now that means that they are in fact going to be in trouble.
See, I think they did that probably because they had their princess there, so a few of them freaked out. So I think she got a lot of these people killed inadvertently.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes my theory go down.
Oh, what was your theory?
Well, I guess not 100%, just that they did this,
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Like they tipped him off?
Yeah.
Vivenna and Tongfa run down an alley while Denth stays behind to fight some Lifeless. Vivenna and Tongfa run out the other side of the alley and they run into 5 Lifeless over there. And Tongfa admits that he cannot fight 5 Lifeless and he puts down his weapon and surrenders. But the Lifeless then pull out their weapons in response. And so at this point they realize, alright, we have to fight. Vivenna runs away again and she's followed by 2 of the Lifeless while Tongfa fights the others. Vivenna's skirt that she's wearing gets caught and ripped, and she just takes it off. She runs down another alley, but at the end of that alley, she runs into another Lifeless. Vivenna goes into the middle of the alley and looks at the 2 of them in the eyes, and she knows that she is going to die. She picks up a rope from the ground and tries to awaken it by saying the command, "Come to life," but nothing happens. She begs for the rope to save her, but to no avail. And then the single Lifeless that she saw at the other side of the alley gets close to her, and then it leaps over her, and she realizes that Lifeless is Claude. She watches as Claude fights the other Lifeless, and she sees the first emotion in Claude that she has ever seen: determination. And Claude appears to be a better swordsman than the others, but he still gets a stab wound in the stomach. A clear liquid comes from the wound. Claude manages to kill the other Lifeless, and afterwards he begins to twitch and shake his head as if to clear his vision. He places his hand against the wall and slumps down to his knees. Tongfa finds Vivenna and calls out for Denth. And then Tongfa looks at Claude, sees he's wounded, and he says that Jules is not going to be pleased. And that's the end of the chapter.
Well, that answered a question I had. If we were going to get to go the whole book with her staying true to her faith, and they say it later, but the first sign of real trouble, and she immediately lets go. That was very sad to see.
Anything else from this chapter either of you two want to go over?
It's interesting that I was going to say with people who are brought up like that in a very sheltered environment, maybe they don't get challenged enough, That's why.
The kind of person I'm talking about who's going to keep their faith, right? They've had a harder life on average, right?
Yes,
That's what you're
they've
saying.
been tested already. Yep.
Where somebody, they know the world's really dark and horrible. That's probably why they're so faithful,
Yeah, they found their sanctuary with religion, with God and stuff. So
It makes me wonder, though, how her monk sister would be if she was put into the same situation.
Ah, interesting. Let's bring her
Yeah.
in. She's already been mentioned. I'm sad there's only one book because I would like to see.
See her sister come go to a bunch of meetings after this one gets kidnapped?
No. I guess her sister would not really have a role, but I forget that there's more than one sister.
Well, trivia question. Do you remember what their brother's name is?
They had a brother? That's my answer.
Their brother is, yeah, I don't remember his name. But yeah, he's the one that's supposed to be king now. It doesn't count that I have it written down.
That's cheating. You gotta remember.
Well,
otherwise you're not a real Sander fan.
Klaus.
Wait, what'd you say his name was?
Klaus?
No way. That doesn't even sound like the same kind of naming mechanism.
No.
Where did that come from?
His name is Ridger.
Yeah, that sounds more like this world.
Made up nonsense.
Yes, exactly.
So perfect.
Well, let's go on to chapter 32. We're with Siri again, and she wakes up, and Susebron is gone, like he always is in the morning. And she thinks about how much she is now enjoying just being with him. She was happy, which she did not expect from Hallandren. But she thought back to how Susebron... Oh, okay. I accidentally wrote the word wrong. Because it's supposed to be danger, but I wrote banger. Alright. But she thought back to how Susebron is in danger, and he refused to believe that his priests were a threat to him.
That's a Freudian slip right there, Joe. We know what your fan fiction's about.
Alright, she was the only person that could help him, and she believed that she was not up to the task. She needs to play politics, but she did not pay much attention during her lessons.
Like it would have helped.
Or politics stuff.
Based on what Vivenna knows of
like,
you just saw her politics.
Yeah.
Yeah, her politics were, I can't believe that you do something different than what I think is correct,
To be fair, she was probably trained more to deal with, the highborn and like the gods and stuff, not the underworld.
If she was not trained on how to deal with like different, like bad kind of people, then she was not trained well in politics. That's all I'm saying.
She couldn't even handle regular Hallandren civilians. Like, she'd be too offended by their skirt or red dress.
She was already offended by their garb. Yeah. Whoever taught her this shit should be fired. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it was all a hoax. It didn't matter because she just had to have a baby. She didn't have to be good at anything.
Remember, she was going to free the city and save her people. She had a whole plan.
In her mind, yeah. She was gassed up. But it's like, nah, we're just going to send your, like, talentless, untrained sister instead. No biggie. Like.
And Siri thinks that she needs to find a way to take what she has and turn it into more. As she goes to her servant, she sees that one is wearing brown, and she asks if that servant is from Punkal. After the servant confirms this, Siri tells her that she has a message for Bluefinger. Tell him that she has vital information he needs to know, and she'd like to trade. It could change his plans drastically. Now Siri needs to figure out what this information is. Alright, then we cut a little bit later, and Siri meets with Lightsong. Lightsong tells her that she reminds him of someone he once was fond of. But when she asks who it was, he tells her that he doesn't know.
I know.
Who?
I'll tell you later.
No, tell me now. Don't give me
this
I know and then you don't.
Too convoluted.
Is it based on what we're talking about here?
No. Well, slightly,
then tell me.
No. A whole branch. I don't want to go off on the tangent. Okay, you guys never let me just go on. Okay, I'll just say Lightsong's, because of my theory about No, it's too convoluted. I'll just tell you later. I'm sorry.
You just save it for the
You
theory
are a
section.
tease.
Huh?
You are a tease. Jesus. Oh man, guys, I got the best theory. We get there?
It's
Oh, I
not the
forgot.
best theory.
Everything will be revealed at the end of the podcast. You are living clickbait.
I'm not. It really doesn't belong here. It's gonna be part of my bigger theory later. So
Oh, those teases. I remember one time a couple of years ago, there's this One Piece podcast. It was called, like, the YouTube video was the greatest One Piece theory of all time. And it winds up immediately getting like 3 million views. There's like so many topics about it on the One Piece Reddit. I watch it. It's just like, this thing's shit.
Of course it is.
So hopefully, Sheta, your theory's better than that one. Siri asks why he is called Lightsong the Bold, and he jokes that he's the only one bold enough just to be a complete idiot. And Siri asks him, no, really, where does it come from? And he tells her that a monkey decides their names and titles. And this monkey thing, when I read that, it just made me think of this TV show from the mid-2000s.
I know the one, yeah.
So, just so people know, it was this game show on Fox called My Big Fat Obnoxious Boss. It was meant to be a parody of, like, The Apprentice, that Donald Trump show. And then there was another show around the same time starring Richard Branson, which was pretty awesome because it was not only business stuff, but they also would, like, skydive and shit like that. But this Fox one, it was all a parody. People were putting this stuff. You had a fake boss who's just an actor. And these people were just having to go through all these ridiculous stunts. One that was in all the commercials was they were trying to do stuff while he was shooting them with a paintball gun. And the end of the episode, when it was time to eliminate somebody, it would show, like, he walks into this room and he talks to the person who's the real boss about who to eliminate. So it's like, oh, there's a real person watching it all and choosing. The show eventually got canceled. The final episodes did not air on Fox. They wound up airing on, like, either online or some other channel. But eventually it was revealed in the last episode that the real boss was a monkey they had there that spun a wheel. The entire show, and then at the end, it was all just a monkey just determining everything. So that's what made me think of when I read this monkey deciding their names and titles.
Well, that gives away my other theory.
That's true?
Yeah.
And then
it'd be funny if he died because he learned that information and he was killed. And now he half remembers, and that's the twist.
Lightsong finally gives her a real answer and says that, it has to do with how they died. And he had apparently died in a heroic way, and he believed that it involved a large panther somehow. Siri questions that he doesn't know, and he tells her that they don't know their past lives. And then Lightsong introduces a storyteller that he brought in for Siri. The storyteller is an elderly man with a long white beard named Hoid.
Don't give me this Hoid shit. What the fuck was that?
Motherfucking Hoid. I was like...
No, don't... Here's the thing. If I saw this, I'd just be convinced that's just a name he throws in like Sid in Final Fantasy. Except for that creepy shit where she doesn't want to go talk to him. That makes me like, what am I reading? What is going on here?
He's got a magical twinkle in his eye every time.
Apparently so. And when they're like, oh, he's an elderly man, I'm like, okay. No, he just looks elderly. He's younger than he looks. It's like, what is this shit? I've never seen this. Whatever the hell this is before, I've never seen it. Usually a thing like this, I'd have at least a little information to work with. This makes no friggin' sense to me.
I think he likes to keep it so that you're like, it may be the same person. Just for the outside fans. Even though it's probably just a little... No, Hoid is all. He's the answer.
This gives me such a weird feeling, and I'm surprised that whatever this is got all this dialogue here.
Hoid, I am too. I was like, is he just gonna cameo, or is he actually gonna have speaking roles? And he told us everything.
Mm-hmm.
And the way he was talking, I was like, I think this is the Hoid.
What do you mean, the? Like, what's that? What's that mean?
The Hoid who knows all the answers to the Cosmere.
Uh-huh.
That's my theory.
It's interesting to have whatever this is have all this information. I do want to say about Siri, just learning that they come back without memories. It's so friggin' frustrating to me to have the character who's trying to uncover all the answers know less than I do. I don't like that at all. That drives me nuts.
All right, so moving on. And as Siri looked more closely at him, Hoid appeared to be really much younger than he wanted to appear. So she figured that he was like wearing a fake beard as that's part of like the storyteller thing to look older.
Fake beard. Who does that? Hoid. That's who.
Siri asked Hoid about Hallandren history, about the division between Idris and Hallandren, and the origins of the God Kings. So Hoid begins the story 300 years before the Many War, when the Chetish people sailed the inner sea and landed here. They called it Paradise, and the only people living in the area were the Pankal, and they were more a mere collection of fishing villages, not really a nation. And the people that land, and they noticed that this area was able to grow great dyes, and they called the land Hanold. The first returned, named Vo, was born during this time. He declared the 5 visions, and then he died a week later. And there was also a return who had predicted the war, and this drove Strife Lover, also called Kalad, to attack the kingdoms across the mountains.
I love the name Strife Lover. That's so badass. He just loves strife.
Hoid says that the reasoning for the Many War is said by some to be wars over the dyes and the source of Hallandren's wealth, while others say that the wars were fought over breaths. During this time, there were the 5 scholars who studied and discovered new commands for awakening. One of them made a discovery which allowed a lifeless to be created in a single breath. Before, it took 50 breaths, but now it took 1, which essentially allowed their armies to just double. Lifeless soldiers are not stronger than normal soldiers, but they do not require food, and they ignore wounds and fear. The 5 scholars split and joined different sides. Kalad was said to have created a new and more powerful type of lifeless. It is not known what happened to these lifeless, but they live on in lore. Some stories say they were burned, while others say they still exist out in the jungles. And while Hoid's telling all these stories during it, he's pulling out different things from his pockets and dropping them, creating many effects. Like one of the first things he does, he takes some sand that's black, drops it, it turns white, tosses like some flower petals and stuff that turn to like smoke, stuff like that.
Makes me feel like I'm being frickin' hypnotized.
I thought these sands have a meaning. I was trying to decipher what every sand or leaf meant, but it got too complicated and random, so I stopped. But I had a whole chart.
You had a whole chart.
Yeah.
And Siri asked if the royal family broke away because of the moral implication of using the lifeless. And Hoid hesitantly is like, yeah, that's why. And Lightsong says that, yeah, that guy's lying. And Siri asks to know, what do the other people say about it? And Hoid tells her that, the Idrians say that Kalad the Usurper used treachery, while the Pankal say the royal family worked hard to get Awakeners and Lifeless, but then those wound up turning against them. And then the Hallandren say that the royal family aligned with Kalad and ignored the will of the people by seeking war. Either way, it wound up ending with the return taking control of Hallandren. And Hoid says that some people still spoke with regret at the royal family leaving, since they bore the blood of the first returned. He explained that, the first returned's wife became pregnant with his child, and that Siri is a descendant of him. This is news to Siri, and this means that the God Kings carried on without blood of the first returned. Siri asks how many God Kings there have been, and Hoid tells her that there are 5, including Susebron, but not including Peacegiver. Peacegiver had dispelled Kalad's phantoms and brought a peaceful end to the Many War. Peacegiver created the first God King, and since then the God King, will always father a stillborn son who would then become returned and the next God King. Siri asks how Peacegiver was able to create the original God King, but Hoid tells her that it is not exactly known, but the legends say that Peacegiver had given his divine breath to his successor and then died.
Mm-hmm.
What's some
Mm-hmm. Sounds familiar.
Familiar to what?
Familiar to what's going to happen to our Susebron. Same process.
Familiar to what's going to happen?
Yeah. He's gonna be forced or brainwashed to do it too. That's all.
So why use the word familiar?
Familiar, like, that's my theory. Or that's exactly what I thought.
Familiar to your theory. I see. I was like, did you read ahead? Did I forget to read a chapter?
No, this is just in my head. Yeah.
I see. Okay, yeah.
Siri is not pleased with these answers because they don't tell her what she wants to know. It doesn't say how the God Kings died or why some returned, like the first return, could father children while others could not. Siri asked why the first God King died, and Hoid says that he grew tired and gave up his divine breath. Each God King has passed from this world shortly after his heir was born. And Lightsong chides Hoid for telling a newlywed that her husband will grow bored with life and die as soon as she has his son. Siri asks Hoid where he had learned such an unusual method of storytelling. He tells her that he learned it many, many years ago from a man who didn't know who he was. It was a distant place where two lands met and gods have died.
Yeah, you know what I'd do if somebody tells me that? I'd say, go on, explain. But I like how she thinks it's just some bullshit he said to sound more interesting than he is.
Yeah, you know the types. Just poets.
Yeah.
I just learned it from another homeless guy.
Yep.
Siri thinks about how there is an official reason for why the God Kings would die, but it doesn't explain how all the breaths pass from one God King to the next. It also would not explain how Susebron would die, because he just seems so excited by life. Could that change so much in him if he had a son? Lightsong then tries to cheer up Siri by saying that maybe they should hope for Susebron to pass on. She had been forced into all this, and then she would be able to go home and there would be a new heir on the throne, so everyone would be happy. In response to this, Siri thanks Lightsong and Hoid and excuses herself. She left quickly because she did not want Lightsong to see her tears.
Oh,
And that's the end of that chapter.
Again, I don't feel that I learned as much as I expected to from this long-awaited storyteller. That we didn't already kind of like at least have inferred from what other people have said.
Oh, like what? What do you think?
Well, like we still don't know the details of the deaths really. They already said that they give up their breath, and we already assumed, as you said, that they were probably transferring or something like that, you know. So like we already kind of knew that there was some stuff with the lineage where the people out where she's from had some royal blood and stuff, you know. We already knew I'm sure there's hidden in there some stuff in the history that I'm overlooking that you may have written down that gives some like nice little smoking gun, but a lot of the big reveals, at least, I feel like we already had heavy implications of them.
Oh yeah. Now we can just mark those off as confirmed and then continue with the mystery.
But also, as she says, this is pretty much common knowledge to most people. Like, maybe not the peasants, but most people kind of know all this. So it's super frustrating to me to have her, like I said, have a smaller scope than I do, but be our main person solving the mystery.
I didn't even know she had royal blood in her.
Yeah, stuff like that.
That
it's
was
really
stuff.
interesting that they don't say that where she's from, even though that's not like forbidden secret knowledge or something.
That her place sounds like one of those isolated countries where information is carefully scrutinized and not given out. I feel like that place is full of secrets because they are so ignorant of everything. Like it's the entire country seems isolated and sheltered.
Yeah.
Especially their royals.
Any other questions or anything you two have? Or anything else you want to go over with this chapter?
Yeah, questions. What the fuck is going on with this Hoid character? That's my question. This doesn't make any sense. Also, if this is a world-hopping character of some kind and not just like a doppelganger character, I don't think she should have talked to him. If Vin got such a skeevy feeling from him and letting him affect the plot in some way by going to talk to him in the last book, like if he would have jumped down, he would have been like, Vin, yes, long ago, here's the mystery of this world to influence you to do whatever I want, you know? Like, this seems like somebody you should not allow to... Because in the first book, it was a homeless dude who delivered weapons to people, right? Or something like that.
No.
Yeah, and like... that influenced the plot. Like, what would have happened if Vin allowed him to influence the plot? That's my question, you know? Because the stuff he shared here, this was information we may have inferred, but she was not going to get from other people, you know?
Kelsier was talking to Hoid already.
Yeah, so what did he tell him?
Yeah, we already wrecked some damage.
Yeah, well, still, I'm talking about just from a metatextual thing of don't let the protagonist talk to this guy. He's going to come in and fuck up the story somehow. Yeah, I don't know. It's really, really weird. If I don't get a satisfying answer someday in the future, I'm going to be unsatisfied.
There's just a lot of info, and I have a lot of theories, but I don't know if I should say it now or later.
Well, we can do them in the predictions because we got one more chapter.
Yeah.
And originally, I had planned for this chapter we just did to be the end of it, but then when I looked, it's just like, all right, we can do one more chapter. It's not that long, and this next chapter is a better endpoint. Chapter 33. And so we're starting off. Vivenna and Jules are at a safe house. Denth is in the cellar to grab something, and Tong Fa has gone back to the normal house to check on Parlin. Jules is in the middle of repairing Claude by removing his guts and stitching them back up.
I really love the idea that they just fix him up like a car that's broken down. Like stitch up some organs, put them back in, replace a couple with other ones, put some new oil in, and then hope for the best.
Like the oil.
Mm-hmm.
Vivenna thinks about how she just did not care about modesty earlier when her life was at risk. She didn't think about keeping her hair under control. She didn't care about her religion either because she was trying to use her breaths to awaken. And she overhears Jules complaining that Claude had got hurt having to defend Vivenna. Jules says that she and Claude should just go away. And when Claude hears this, he tries to stand up and Jules gets annoyed, so she has him stop. She uses the security phrase, "Howl of the Sun," and then makes him go inactive.
That's a dangerous thing to say in front of Vivenna.
Maybe she said it on purpose.
And you don't trust these people.
Oh, I don't. They're not on anyone's side, but their own side.
You're only saying that because they're mercenaries.
Yep.
And Denth comes back upstairs and talks to Vivenna. He tells her that she did the right thing by trying to run away from battle. Vivenna then tells Denth that she wants him to teach her how to awaken. She thought that she would rather have died than try to use her breaths, but that turned out to be a lie. She cannot call herself pure anymore. So if she has these breaths, then she will learn how to use them and survive long enough to destroy Hallandren.
Jeez, that escalated.
I know, I was like, that's pretty extra.
She tells Denth that she wants this city overthrown. It managed to corrupt the Idrians, and it has corrupted her. She has always hated the city and its people. It had taken away her childhood. Everyone said the God King was unholy and a heretic, and she was raised to have sex with him. She hates that the city stole her life and demanded that she leaves everything she loves behind. She hates their arrogance and that they pushed her father around. They have dominated her life, and now they have her sister. Denth tells her that she will have her revenge, and Vivenna says that she wants them to hurt. She is tired of being pretty and nice. Denth says that they will start making their attacks more painful then. He asks her if coming here was really about her sister, and Vivenna says no. She had trained all her life to sacrifice herself, and then Siri came, and Vivenna became nothing. She came to get it back. Vivenna thinks about how she had always kept a firm grip on her hatred, but now she had just let it all out.
This is her supervillain monologue opening. This was getting scary.
And Vivenna asks what Jules is doing, and Denth explains that she is attaching a new muscle inside Claude. No wound can ever be perfectly fixed on a lifeless. You just sew them up and fill them with fresh ichor alcohol. Eventually, the body, though, will stop working, and you have to use a new breath on them. So it is usually better to just buy a new body. Vivenna says that Claude fought better than the other lifeless, and Denth explains that lifeless keeps some of the skill they had when they were alive, which is why they, are trying to do what they can to keep Claude around. Vivenna asks about what they put inside, and Denth says it is ichor alcohol, which was discovered by one of the 5 scholars. He says that helped begin the mini war, along with new commands found by another one of the 5 scholars.
So you're telling me they're like the Futurama robots where they run on alcohol?
Oh my god, it's just Futurama.
Mm-hmm.
So would that make Nightblood like those little monkey things that were controlling everything?
Don't remember.
Oh, the nibbler species, right? I was like, What the fuck are you talking about?
Sad thing is, I've watched all the original, Futurama back when it first aired, or a couple years later on DVD when Justin let me borrow them. But that was the last time, so I have not watched any Futurama since before it came back on Comedy Central. So my memory on the stuff is a bit more hazy because it's been a while. So anybody who knows more will probably just be shaking their head that I called it the monkey species instead of Nibbler.
Yeah, I wouldn't call... Well, no, Nibbler's just the one. I don't remember their
Yeah,
species
I know
name.
that.
Do you, Sheta?
No, probably some made-up alien name.
What do you mean probably, as opposed to what?
I mean, it's not gonna be as memorable.
Nibelonian.
Yep.
Yep, there we go.
Mhm.
Could have guessed. Stupid.
Denth tells Vivenna that she needs to learn the commands, and he explains that there are a lot. A good command to give to a rope would be hold things, and then it will grab whatever is closest. Protect me is also another good command to use on stuff. He explains that you need to imagine the command as well. When using Awakening, the item becomes a part of you so they understand you. Having more breaths also makes it easier to learn as well. Vivenna thanks Denth for teaching her and not calling her a hypocrite, and she says that Denth is a good man. He replies that he wished that were still true, but he has not been a good man for some years now.
Man, when somebody tells you they're not a good man, trust them. That's what I think, and get the hell away from them. I've seen too many movies where somebody talks like that, and then they're like, yep, I mean, I told you.
Yeah, I know.
And then Tongfa arrives, and he says that their normal house looks safe. So they all head over there, and when they arrive back at the house, Parlin goes to check on Jules, but she just brushes him off. Parlin asks about the fighting, and she says that they were attacked by an army of Lifeless. Parlin asks her if Jules is alright, and Vivenna just gets pissed off. She asks him, hey, aren't the two of us engaged? And Parlin responds that no, Vivenna's engaged to the God King. And then she tells him that he knows that their fathers wanted them to get married. But Parlin says that he always figured that they were both going to be disinherited anyways when they left Idris. So there's no reason to keep up the charade.
This part was so embarrassing and sad. Oh my god. I felt so embarrassed and sad for her.
Yeah.
Like,
He says that
don't.
Every line, just stop talking, honey, like that.
Yeah, I'm like, no, gosh. I couldn't.
Wait, were you telling Parlin to stop talking or Vivenna?
Vivenna!
Parlin's the one
I
who
was
comes
like-
off as cool.
Yeah,
You may
Parlin's
be
like,
the popular cheerleader, but you make fun of me. I thought
yeah,
you
like,
were a
I'm not
bitch,
really
so,
that
you know.
into you. And she's like, I thought you were my boyfriend.
Everyone
he's like,
likes me. I'm the princess. Like that.
Yeah. It's like, I don't even think of you that way. She's like, well, our fathers wanted us together. It's like, yeah, why does that matter? Like, I'm not into you. Like, it's just, oh,
You made fun of my hat.
yeah, like, you're kind of a bitch. I never really liked you, like, at all. Like, all this stuff. She's like, why did you come with me then? Like,
We're
because
just
you
here to
commanded
save your
me
sister,
to.
who's
Like,
nicer.
yeah. He's just, like, simple. It's just that he's so simple, and he's just, like, completely rejecting her, and he doesn't even know it, and it just hurts.
I'm gonna steal the part I liked when it's like yeah, I always thought you thought I was stupid, and I figured if you liked me, you at least wouldn't make me feel stupid all the time. Was so sad.
Oh.
Because I'm like, yeah, she does think he's fucking like actually
He
mentally
thinks,
challenged. She does
he
not
thinks
like
so
him.
low of him.
Yeah.
And then I
But
was
he's
like,
just some guy. He's just not that sharp or quick. But I'm like, neither are you. I'm sorry, you know.
mhm.
It's really interesting. She's just educated, you know.
And he's really nice and genuine. Like, he's not
Mhm.
pretending to be something he's not, you know.
Yeah.
Like, ugh.
And Vivenna asks why he followed her to Hallandren, and Parlin says that he came to help Siri. And then he walks away to go see if Jules was hurt. Vivenna thinks that Parlin is twice the person that she is, but she just doesn't care anymore. Everything else was taken away from her, so why not Parlin too? Vivenna walks into her room and locks the door. She goes over to close her drapes, but Vasher is standing on her balcony. He tells her that she is causing a lot of trouble. Vivenna tries to scream, but the drapes attack her and tie her up and choke her. She hopes someone will hear her struggling, and then she goes unconscious. And that's the end of our chapters for this week.
No.
Anything else from this chapter you two want to go over?
I'm happy that Harlan actually really likes Jules, and I hope they are happy together. But sadly for him, Jules and Claude are already a thing, so he's got to deal with that.
Disgusting. You're a freak. That's her car.
This is a love triangle with Claude,
He's dead.
Vivenna,
He's a zombie. They're dead.
Harlan, and Jules. Like that's my triangle there. He's not dead. There was a little bit of humanity in his eyes.
Or Vivenna just thought there was.
No, she can see. She has the breaths.
I do wonder. I feel like they're like a lesser form of the Returned, personally, where like their soul is not in there, but their memories kind of are. That's kind of how I
obviously,
imagine it is.
Justin, it's obvious. Yeah. I didn't mean to step on you.
But then the Returned probably do have their souls came over with them because they're more actually there, you know?
Yeah, the Returned are just a higher form of the Lifeless.
No, I mean, I think the Returned are the person where the Lifeless are not. That's kind of what I'm trying to say.
Well, yeah, the where they have a bit of the previous soul in them. Because...
Not a bit. I think they have the whole thing, you know. I don't subscribe, like, I don't know if I believe breaths are souls, personally. But, yeah, I don't think that they're different just because they have more breaths, because they used to make Lifeless out of 50 breaths, right? That's what it said, you know?
Yeah.
All right. We'll move on to theories and predictions segment. Okay, so right now, Lightsong and Blushweaver have control of 3 of the Lifeless armies. Will they be able to get the control of the 4th and final army?
Well, I don't think Lightsong's going to have it, because he already said Blushweaver's going to go down and change the command phrase, you know, probably. And he doesn't seem like he's going to go beat her to it on that one. So I'm scared of her.
But he still has his own armies, at least.
Yeah, he has his army. She's got, 2 now, right? And it doesn't sound like he's going to give his up, but that's a lot of soldiers.
Who has the last one? Do we know yet? I don't know.
I believe it. Let me double check. I think it did say. Yep. It was. A couple chapters ago, it just mentioned that Allmother was another god who had lifeless commands.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm excited to see her.
All right, but the question: will they be able to get control of her lifeless commands?
No, because I think that the other side will get the army. I don't know. They're doing pretty good so far, but so I feel like actually they might get it.
Okay, and then oh man, I thought I had some questions the other day, but I have forgotten a lot of them. Whatever I was going to ask you. So it sounds like you two had theories you want to say. So let's just jump right to that. Let's have you throw out theories.
That sounds like one of us has theories they want to say. I don't have very many.
But you were saying it a little bit.
Was I? I don't think I was. I didn't think I was saying a theory. I was just saying what my thoughts were.
Yeah, I don't have theories either. They are just my thoughts as well. So jump in anytime and contradict me, Joe, or because I don't remember if I don't remember something, and then if you have stuff to add too, Justin. Okay. Well, I feel like there is a plot, brewing a war. What? There's a plot brewing. Oh, there's a plot brewing. A war that is growing underneath everything that's happening and all the pieces that we are seeing. Led by Blushweaver, and then Bluefingers and Denth. I think Blushweaver and Denth are kind of working for the same war. I don't know to what end, but they both kind of want the war to happen, so I'm not sure if they know.
Wait, I'm just confused. So, are you saying that Blushweaver, Bluefingers, and Denth are working together, or are they like 3 different groups?
3 different groups.
You see, Blushweaver, I can agree with. I think she's got something that she's working towards we don't know about. Denth, we talked about how maybe he's tied to something bigger. I don't personally believe it, but I could see the logic. Where did Bluefingers fall into this, though? He seems pretty on the level.
Okay, Bluefingers.
All he's done is be like, "Oh, princess, be very careful. Oh, we can't talk now." That's about it. Like,
yeah, but he's connected to stuff.
To turn him into this big, like, he's part of this giant faction trying to brew this secret war.
I don't trust anyone with fingers in their nickname. Like,
besides the fact that he serves another religion, that would be the only thing if maybe he's
That's
trying to
the other
plant a
thing.
coup. But that's quite an assumption to make based on what he's done so far.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, there actually is no conspiracy by the priests at all, and he's actually just poisoning Siri against them for some reason. That would be the only reason I could think. I don't believe that.
No, the other side would be him and his religion, because Var is also of his same religion. I think that's the same. That's how he came in, like the Punkar religion. I don't remember, but they probably don't believe in this stuff and want to overthrow it. So I'm surprised they're here at all. So I feel like if the war is happening, I feel like they want a piece of it too. And I was thinking the mini war may have been something like that in the past already, and they want to do another mini war.
Do another mini war.
Yeah. Some more mini wars.
But we've already got a normal war brewing just with Hallandren and Idris. Yeah, Idris,
That's just the front.
Do we even need a secret war? There's definitely some kind of secret conflict happening with Mystery Guy, whose name I forgot, but...
Oh, Vasher, yeah.
But I'm just not convinced by your blue finger evidence.
Okay, the other side that wants the war is the Kalad's Phantoms side. And then I had a theory that the Phantoms are the returns. And that they've just been returning this whole time. They're still living among us. But there's something that made it not right, but my thing about how they are just they're just being reborn and stuff as the returns, so they do change over time, but they're just waiting to be unlocked with their passcode word. And then their main...
That's interesting. Passcode for the returned. I like that one. Then I wonder if the God King has a passcode too. Maybe that's how they get him to give up the breaths, That's good. I like that.
Well, Sheta, I'll have to throw out that the returned existed before Kalad. Because they talked about the first returned when they first landed at the area. Then it was after a while was when Kalad came and started war.
Oh, yeah. So I have many, sorry, go ahead.
Kalad himself was also a returned.
Yep. That's when I was like, okay, nope, I guess that they're not. But so his phantoms are actually, I feel like there's certain gods who are, okay, first, let me backtrack, that the return are, what is that note? There was a thing about declaring the 5 visions and then dying a week later. And then there were 5 scholars who came up with all this, different kind of powers and stuff. So I feel like the wars have something to do with those different sides too. Like one of them made the lifeless. I think one of them might be responsible for more of the breath powers and awakening powers. One of them is the Royal Locks powers. I don't know what that is, but I feel
the worst power.
I was just listing the different kinds of powers to see what would it be. And then one of them was a weapons power, how Night Sword is kind of using that, whatever that would be.
We got a lot of moving pieces without a lot of description here. That's very, very frustrating to me at this point in a book, over halfway through.
Yeah. That's why I hope they unlock the passcode word and give us all the answers like happens sometimes. So.
Oh, I expect this book to end exactly like Elantris, where nothing gets answered. Or the main thing gets answered and not the other things, and I'll just be frustrated as hell. But I don't believe the returned are what they say they are, just because they haven't explored the concept that much, I think there's some shady missing piece that we don't know about, and it ties into the God King.
Oh.
I wonder if...
Sorry, go ahead.
No, what is it?
About the returned. So, there's something about the first returned that they are my theory or something they said was that they are made up of the crew of the first people that came to this land and stuff. And so I think the returned are his crew returning.
Why do you think they're made up of the crew?
Because Lightsong keeps dreaming of a ship. and that he was on that same first ship that came to this
Oh,
land.
you think they pass down the knowledge as they return? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and also he keeps dreaming of a panther, and then I feel like
Mhm.
that panther was from when they first arrived on the land, and he had to like protect someone from a panther and was killed, you know. So he
The
keeps
ship
having
thing
that
is good.
memory.
I like the ship thing.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting if all their memories are passed down, like they keep
Hmm.
adding on everyone who
Yep.
dies. We have
Yeah.
really very little evidence of that, but that would be a really interesting idea. That like all this stuff he thinks he's learning actually doesn't matter at all, you know?
Yeah. There's like all these pieces, and like we said it a little earlier, but that's why all his talents seem so random. Is that it's from all these different people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
And then I had the theory that Blushweaver is um Halad or something. Halad or Strife Lover. Like she has like she was that war instigator from back in the day, and she's just doing her thing.
Could be. She seems to be working towards strife.
Yeah.
Also,
It's going to be a reveal that she's the master, like one of those things, right?
Yeah.
From Doctor Who.
Hmm. Like any one of the returns could have one of the old
Yeah,
crew
but that's
in them,
working on
you
your
know?
deep assumption that the returned are reincarnated across time, which we have no evidence for.
What
That
is a
completely
return but
relies on
that?
that, so you can't talk about that like that's
Okay,
an
okay, okay.
actual, like, realistic theory. The best evidence I think you have is the boat thing, and I think that's pretty weak. My question is why would a mathematician and a detective and a sailor and a juggler all exist as one person? That would be one interesting person.
Well, they said that the God King there's been like 5 of them. I feel like there could be as many returned as that too. Like we don't really know how many
Yet
times.
you're still working off of your theory. I'm not talking about that.
Well, then it's that they have a lot of breaths in them. So I think that, and that's where their power comes from. Like I think breaths affect you more
I
than you
think that if
think.
that was true, then Vivenna would be finding new talents that she didn't know she had.
That's my other thing. She used her breath for the first time, and then suddenly she's giving villain speeches that she's gonna take down this
No,
government and
I
stuff.
think I
I
think
think
that
that
that's still
unlocks
tied to how
something.
she's been personally.
Yeah,
She
that's the thing. It mixes into who you are and the things you actually have in you, but it mixes in there, and you kind of become
I
a
I
new
hear what
being.
you're saying. I'm not convinced whatsoever. I think that Vivenna's arc of a character has been totally rational. There wasn't like a crazy left turn that would make me think she's possessed by like 1,000 demons or
I don't
something.
think she's possessed, but I think she's been pushed with the anger of the breaths inside her, you know, and that this was set up to make her be like that, you know. Someone wanted her to be a figurehead with power to push this rebellion.
See, I was really against Denth in them and thinking they were shady before, but these chapters really convinced me otherwise, that they're not trying to build her up as a figure like you're saying, and
Oh,
they're
I don't
not
think it's
sowing
dense.
discord,
No.
just based on
Yeah.
the line of her, of him trying to basically tell her to not think too poorly of herself. Because if you were trying to manipulate her when she was scared of dying, you'd be like, see how the real world is, princess? But he seemed like he was trying to protect her a little bit to me.
Yeah.
So that really made me think that he may be on the level, you know?
Yeah. This chapter made me believe him too. I think
Mm,
whatever's working on her is higher than Denth and them.
nothing is working on her.
There's powers, Justin.
Yeah.
Powers beyond. And the breaths, I don't trust them. They have something in them. Oh man, I don't even want to say this one.
do it.
Okay. All right. The so-called returned, which say working with the same thing as it's the crew that are keep
You
returning.
can't build a theory off of a theory, Sheta. It just
But
gets so
it's
convoluted.
like
Let's
okay,
hear.
so
Let's
that
hear.
the returned are actually Spook in them, the last of
Okay,
the
I'm
crew
out. I'm
who
out.
are
What?
I'm
What?
out. I'm leaving. Goodbye.
no, they're now Mistborn or Alamancers, and they might appear as gods to these jungle people.
What is that based on? They've traveled between realities? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. They had to find a
man.
way out, and they did the...
You just miss Spook so much, don't you?
Yeah.
Now, I've got nothing, Sheta. I see why you didn't want to say it.
Yeah, well, like, it's that when they came here, their mist powers are now affected by this world, and they have different... It changed into the breath powers.
By that logic, I could just say that Spider-Man appeared on the shores and he was worshipped as a god. There's as much evidence for that as any of this.
It was just as they were a tight-knit crew and they were traveling together and all that stuff.
So it must have been previous characters from a previous book. It had to be. You are jumping at shadows over there, Sheta, more so than I was last couple books.
Well, we don't know anything about the powers, and
So we might as well make the wildest assumptions possible.
Don't.
Anything from in the text you have to add?
Something about that part where they were talking about the first people who returned here and stuff made me think of a Spook and Breeze in them. I don't know what.
Yeah, I don't know what either. But I do think that there is something important hidden in there that will become very apparent as we go on, Maybe even something that we could put together if we were seeing the right pieces right now. I'm not sure. But there's no reason that this guy, this weird, mysterious guy, would have gone back 300 years and done all these details about the earliest people coming here and how some of this stuff was set up if it wasn't going to be relevant later. So, yeah, there's something in there that I'm not seeing. Maybe your half insanity is touching upon it in a way that'll make sense later. And I'll be like, oh, I see where your brain was,
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, before we included the 33rd chapter, I was like, oh, Vivenna's definitely going to switch to pants. And I thought she was going to give her breath away, become a drab, and that it would be interesting to see the POV of a drab, and that she will get closer to Claude because she's a drab now, and she will understand him the way that
I don't think anything has ever sounded more like fan fiction than that shit.
Wait, Sheta, are you saying that your new ship for Vivenna is Claude?
We all saw it coming.
Yeah, Claude and Vivenna.
Ugh.
Okay,
That's
so hear me out.
Sheta.
He's pale and like Edward Scissorhands, and I was
thinking... No. He is not pale like Edward Scissorhands. He is gray like a cartoon zombie.
Okay, like what's his name in Billy Butcherson from Hocus Pocus?
No, he's still pale. No, he looks like frickin' Bud from
but he's tall and he was a fighter.
From Day of the Dead. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, when you can become a drab, which is, I imagine you become a little more goth, you don't mind that as much.
No. These are all in your head. This was not how it was explained in here. He looks like a lifeless corpse. He does not look like a Tim Burton character.
Wait, so in your mind, is Jules a goth?
Yeah, 100%. He's like, okay, can you just not talk to me? Like, she's super goth. Yes. Being a drab is being
if I was next to you right now, I would just have to attack you for some of these things.
Man, that almost makes me wish that we recorded this podcast in person.
You just hear a "why you little" kind of thing.
Don't kill me.
Get this Billy Butcherson, Edward Scissorhands
stuff
out of your head.
Part out, but it says that they move not like zombies, but like a person with proficiency and coordination. And except there's no speaking or yelling or grunting, just silence.
Yeah, which is fucking creepy.
Wasn't there what was it, the movie Warm Bodies? Isn't that just like Romeo and Juliet but with a zombie?
Hey, don't add in. Don't
okay.
Don't give her more ammo.
Yeah. That's my thing. And then they'll go, oh, we thought it was actually Vivenna, Jules, and Parlin, but it's not. It's actually Claude, Vivenna, and Jules. That's the triangle.
And Parlin.
And Parlin, too, because he does like those.
All right.
So that is the most complicated love triangle star I've ever seen.
Okay, can we move on from this now?
Okay, I'm sorry.
She's only got 3 more hours of talk on this.
Okay, and then I was like, is
Sheta,
Denth
he
a
looks
lifeless?
like this. This
Wait.
is what he looks like.
Let me see. No, I don't think so.
Yes. Like I said, Bub from Day of the Dead. Like a kind of smarter zombie. That's what he looks like. He's got a twinkle in his eye, but you're not going to go on a date with him.
Any more theories that don't have to deal with this?
Yes, no. My other theory, stop, Justin, you started it again with this picture. Okay, my other theory is Denth is a lifeless ? And does Vasher have his breath? And that is the drama between them.
What's that based on?
I wish I put my clues on here, but I just it's.
Do you mean a lifeless or a the other thing?
No, like a
return,
like a higher.
Right? You just mean the person without their breath, right? Not the corpse that's revived.
I don't know. I think probably, yeah. I think I meant drab. Yeah.
Yeah, that would make more sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
That I don't know. He seems a little charismatic to me. But I don't know a lot about Drab. We're halfway through the book. I still don't know the rules of anything. So I'm very frustrated.
I don't think he's a Drab because Vivenna would have mentioned that because she...
That's true. Well, she can see,
yeah. Yeah, but
she was able to...
He bought a breath that's not his, though, you know?
But we
original
know that.
breath. Yeah.
You're saying because he's had experience as one, right? Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
Well, that'd piss me off.
Okay. All right, then now I can explain that thing that Siri's ancestors, who were part of the original crew, knew Lightsong's ancestors, and that's why he feels like he knows her. And like,
you are doing the number one thing of fan theories that drives me crazy, Sheta, which is building fan theories on top of fan theories until you get to the point where you've got something that makes perfect sense and is in the text in your mind, but is all based on a theory. That when that theory's turned out to be true, it all comes down like a house of cards.
Let's see now why I couldn't really explain it back there.
Yeah, no, you definitely couldn't have. You were right. I was wrong. That would have been very confusing. Well, based on your one theory being true, which is based on very little except for one little thing about a boat, I can see the logic in what you're saying. But I don't agree with it. Also, you're kind of scaring me. I am going to feel like such a moron, Sheta, when all of that turns out to be 100% true. No questions, no piece of it was wrong. It was all just true and correct.
Oh, today. I think the drama...
You don't need more. You don't need more.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm kidding. You think the drama of what, Sheta?
Of whether or not the
I'm sorry. If Joe cuts out everything that's stupid, this will be a 4-minute podcast.
Yeah.
But you think the drama of what? What was that?
The royal family and the and Kalad. I wonder what the drama was there, because people are saying they actually aligned with Kalad, which is part of my other theory with Blushweaver and Denth working to make the war happen. Like that's an old tie going all the way back to Kalad and the royal family. So I thought that was interesting. That making a baby with the original blood means something. Like,
yeah,
it seems
I agree with that.
Yeah,
because they were very specific about wanting the princess, and at a specific time too. So something is coming, I think. Or there's some time frame when they need to do something. And I think that making this baby, I don't think it'll be like how the last few were. I think something is brewing that we don't know about. And that makes me wonder if they'll actually make the baby. I could see that happening. That would be freaking weird.
Yeah. But it would be sad because it would be a little stillborn baby.
I wonder if it will be. Or if it'll
What if
be like a
it's-
little
Oh,
genius
you know what?
baby. Like
Yeah,
Kalad just
maybe
comes
not.
out.
Because, like, yeah, she does have the old blood in her. So if it's not a stillborn, it would just be a little real baby. I wonder. Yeah.
If it's not a stillborn, it would be a living baby. What was that? Like, oh my god.
I meant like like what you said, a little genius baby with like a full-grown god inside her.
I
and
don't
stuff
need
like
more of that Twilight shit. I did not like that.
I love genius babies. They're so cute. Okay.
As long as it's not the movie Baby Geniuses 2.
So, are you
I
bad
love
mouthing
them.
Baby Geniuses too? I only saw one. I never saw two.
Yeah, one I like. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I hope Vasher knocking out Vivenna will be the beginning of their relationship, and sadly, that will be the end of Denth and Vivenna's relationship, though, because he doesn't approve of Vasher. That will be drama.
They're really. You've got a problem here. They're not giving you much shipping, so you're starting to go crazy. Previous books had a lot more like romance and shipping stuff. This one has nothing, and you're getting cabin fever. You're just shipping people to like the nearest chair that's over there and being like, oh, it's destiny. They're soulmates.
It's just Vivenna's storyline, Siri storyline, and Lightsong storyline. You have plenty of that.
No, you could do it, but there's nothing there for real. In the previous books, there was like, maybe it could actually happen. And these ones, it's just your own imagination if you're seeing stuff there, Lightsong won't even hook up with anybody. Like, I'm sorry, Sheta, this is the wrong. Like, you thought this was going to be a romance book because it had like a girl on the cover.
Yeah.
You've got none of that.
Mm-hmm. It's like, where's the drama? You just have soul. There's no drama. All right, my last thing is Siri and Lightsong. They were eating grape slices. How small are the grapes, or how big are the grapes that they have to eat slices of grapes?
Did they say grape slices?
Yeah, grape
that
slices.
That could just be a rich person thing.
Yeah, well, are they cutting it into tiny slices and eating the slices of grape?
I don't know. I've never tried that. I didn't catch that in any way whatsoever. Whenever books talk about food, I glaze over. I'm going to be honest. I never pay attention or care about that.
I just imagine giant freaking grapes or tiny grape slices.
I hope they're tiny because with Lightsong being bigger, that would be even funnier to watch him pick up and eat. You sure it wasn't a grapefruit?
I didn't say grapefruit.
All right.
It was grape slices. So
well, you're the expert here.
Well, maybe it was spelled different. Just heard it as grape slices. If you know, then correct me. All right, and that wraps up my theories for this section.
The grapes are the crux of everything.
Yeah, the grapes are it.
All right. Justin, did you have a theory you want to throw in or anything?
Oh, God, after that? I don't even know what a theory is anymore. No, I've got nothing. Like I said, most of the information we got, I feel like I'd already kind of assumed. And whatever is in there is completely going over my head. But I'm sure like in the previous books, I'm sure it'll be super obvious by the end. And I'll feel like an idiot for missing it. I'm sure somebody who's finished the book is smacking both of us screaming right now at their monitor.
All right. Well, then let's move on to Character of the Week.
Mine is Siri. I really enjoy that she's teaching the God King all this stuff. And I think it's really interesting that though she's naive, not that smart, not that clever, and not wise at all, she's still trying to untangle this mystery and not doing it in the most ham-fisted way possible, just in a somewhat innocent way.
Yeah, it's pretty cute.
And I think it's really funny that she's starting to feel attracted to this monster God King that she was scared of. And I like the way she interacts with him. I truly do believe that if it was another person, things would not be going as well as they are there.
Yeah, it's so cute. Did you notice that she called him her husband in her head?
I mean, she said it was weird to be reminded that that's her husband. That part I remember.
Yeah. All right. I'll pick Susubron for being such a cat,
Being such a what?
like a little romantic, like a 50-year-old guy trying to be romantic.
I see.
Like being such an old heart um and such an innocent trying to tell the girl he likes that he likes her and stuff. Compliment her. That whole part was cute.
All right, and then I'm gonna go with Vivenna. I liked her, breaking down, trying to use her powers, and then just also her finally letting out all this hatred and everything that she has inside that has just been bubbling up underneath the surface and everything. All right, so now let's go to the quotes.
Mine was from Denth walking to Vivenna after she freaks out. They say a man doesn't know himself until he faces death for the first time. I don't know about that. It seems to me that the person you are when you're about to die isn't as important as the person you are during the rest of your life. Why should a few moments matter more than an entire lifetime? I thought that one was really interesting because, like I said before, it sounds to me like he's both kind of like he knows what she went through because he's experienced that and he's trying to help her keep herself and like the good in her while knowing that, you get some really dark introspection when you go through that. But I also think he's saying something about himself from his own experience and how he tries to hold on to being a better person, where when he faces death, from what we've seen of him, I imagine he gets really scary and like dangerous, So I felt like that showed a lot into his character for me, at least.
I thought it revealed that he has had a lot of experience, that he grew from that and became someone else, and that maybe
Yeah,
his
and he's
initial
trying to help her
reaction.
not do that, right? You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
his
Yeah.
yeah, that part did make me feel like he was a good person or a nice
hmm
person.
That part made me feel like he's not a nice person, but he would like to help her stay a nice person. That's how I think of it.
Yeah, I think that's nice. It's a good one. Okay. All right. Mine is Siri and Susubran talking, of course. I love their entire conversation stuff, but it's her just describing the mountain to him, and then she says, "Yeah, talking about the mountain." And he's like, he paused. Astra. Siri flushed, her hair blushing as well. Oh my god, sorry, my phone keeps picking up the Siri thing. It's like, okay. Damn. She flushed, hair blushing as well. I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't talk about other gods in front of you. Other gods, he wrote? Like those in the court? No, Siri said. Astra is the Idrian god. I understand, Susubramon. Is he very handsome? Siri laughed. No, you don't understand. He's not returned like you or Lightsong. He's, well, I don't know. Didn't the other priest mention other religions to you? Other religions? He wrote. I just love that whole thing. It was kind of cute that the Siri got all embarrassed and stuff that like she was talking about another boyfriend or her ex or something like that. I thought it was funny. It was just like, oh yeah, that's my old god at home. Like, it's funny. I enjoyed their back and forth. More talking about
I'm always surprised how she responds to his comments like that. They're always like the
yeah.
perfect way to respond to it.
hmm think it's so funny that or not Lightsong, Susubron keeps wanting to meet Astra and see how he is. Like he doesn't understand that it's not a
The
real
concept of a
person.
god like we do, yeah.
Yeah. Like you've never seen him, he says, like you've never seen Astra and you believe in him still, but you don't believe in me, like interesting. The concept of a faith like that, I feel like he doesn't have.
All right. My quote is actually going to be around the same time period as Justin's, just with Vivenna exploding about how much she hates Hallandren. No, Denth, Vivenna said. Her hair bled to a deep red, and for once she didn't care. I really hated. I've always hated this people. They took my childhood. I had to prepare, become their queen, get ready to marry their god king. Everyone said he was unholy and a heretic, yet I was supposed to have sex with him. I hate this entire city with its colors and its gods. I hate the fact that it stole away my life, then demanded I leave behind all that I love. I hate the busy streets, the placating gardens, the commerce, and the suffocating weather. I hate their arrogance most of all, thinking they could push my father around, force him into that treaty 20 years ago. They've controlled my life, dominated it, ruined it, and now they have my sister. She drew in a deep breath through gritted teeth. You'll have your vengeance, princess, Denth whispered. She looked at him. I want them to hurt Denth. The attack today wasn't about subduing a rebellious element. The Hallandren sent those soldiers in to kill the poor people that they created. We're going to stop them from doing things like that. I don't care what it takes. I'm tired of being pretty and nice and ignoring ostentation. I want to do something. Denth nodded slowly. All right, we'll change course, start making our attacks a little more painful. Good, she said. She squeezed her eyes shut, feeling frustrated, wishing that she was strong enough to keep all of these emotions away. But she wasn't. She kept them in too long. That was the problem. Venting, letting out all this anger that she has, and a lot of it, in all honesty, makes perfect sense. She has been pretty much raised her entire life to go, leave, have sex with a person that she's told straight up, yeah, this is a heretic and evil god, go have sex with him. She never really got to have her own life at all. Like, her life was that, and then she just became nothing. Then she comes to this city, and she just, everything she has been trained to hate is just what she's seeing everywhere.
Yes. Actually, during the speech, I was like, there's the anger that I thought she should have had in that first couple chapters. When I was like, I would be pissed. I was like, yeah, here it is.
Well, she's
I'm
been
really
taught
happy.
to repress her anger. And now
Yeah.
it's all going to come out in this horrible, horrible way.
Yeah. I am kind of thinking that you may have something with your theory about them, like sister fighting sister, Justin.
100%. I think so.
Like, I didn't know that. I never bought into that until this moment.
Yeah.
'Cause
You don't
they're
have
like,
two characters who are so opposite, start on arcs to become more like each other, to not have them become opposite again and then fight. That's how I see it.
yeah.
It's
It
too
was when
sad.
she
They
even
couldn't meet
said,
in the middle.
oh, well, that's why the third sister's gonna come and be like, stop fighting, and then bump their heads
I don't
against
think
each
we're
other.
ever going to see the third sister again. If anything, I think she exists to be a pure, kind force, to exist out in Idris, to have some kind of reason to care if the city's destroyed or not.
You think too much like a writer.
All right. Let's move on to a couple comments that we have. So, first comment was from, our Warbreaker, the prologue through chapter 4 on Spotify. And this is from Kaiser Kerfer. The Lightsong, My Little Pony comparison is pretty valid, in my opinion.
Oh no, I forgot about that. Oh god.
Yes. All the names feel like that. And it has their, it tries to be like their power and stuff.
Yep, and that's been a couple people have said that it's valid now, so maybe
Oh,
I was
no.
wrong to throw it away so quickly.
Yes.
They have vindicated Sheta.
Yes.
And now we're going to Warbreaker Chapters 11 through 16. So this one's from Reader Warrior. Does Bakugan count as a card game?
I know what that is, and yet I don't
Are
know
they
what that
still
is.
little toys?
Bakugan, it's something.
Yeah, that's so vaguely familiar. I never watched that, but I vaguely remember it.
I do remember the name from that one, I think it's College Humor skit with Lance Reddick as like the owner of the toy store, and he goes this whole big rant about Bakugan. But besides that, I have no idea what Bakugan is. Alright. Oh my fudging Kremlin. I was going to remain silent on my Swan Queen proposal because I didn't think anyone would get it.
On Queen?
I don't know. This would have been something that we said at some point, I guess.
You must have made some reference, Sheta, that went over our heads.
Me?
If it's a Swan Queen, then yeah, probably you.
Here's this next one. I believe this was probably in response to Justin saying why he thought this book was written for the Twilight crowd and that sort. And this is pretty much going into the thing that I did not want to say at that point, but now I think it's a decent time we can bring it in. All right, so he says, besides this, arguing being Brandon's most provocative book, he also wrote it for his wife. Because he wrote this book during their engagement and they got married during the book.
That's interesting.
And that was one thing I did not want to bring up before, because at that point, like, Siri and the God King didn't do anything. So if I said, oh yeah, Brandon wrote this while a big thing was getting married, that would have almost immediately told you guys something that could happen with that whole thing. When you
so you're telling me Brandon Sanderson is a loner creep who's never talked to anyone in his entire life and doesn't know how to relate to people, and his wife came in and helped him learn how to communicate with the world? That's fucking weird. That would explain how he gets so much writing done.
I think you don't need to take everything so literally from a book.
Nope. Everything's literal.
He was a god king. He was sheltered and learned all the good things in life from his mom. Yeah, that sounds right. And from a book.
If Bluefinger's name was Blue Hooves, would you like him more?
Yeah.
I would, personally.
Yeah.
That's a cool
you
name.
Would too? Yeah, Blue Hooves. It's just the
Blue
fingers.
Anything with a finger, it makes me think he's
right?
diddling Smurfs. You know, it's creepy.
Yeah, it's like, why are they blue? It's just, ugh.
No, he's just been eating Smurfs. They're supposed to be delicious.
That
Either
would
way.
be better. Then he'd be Blue Lips, which wouldn't be any better either, actually. Let's move on, actually. Let's get off of this topic.
All right. I still remember the days when people would pray for Goddess Komi-san to get an anime adaptation.
We should do it again.
Goddess Komi, is that Komi can't communicate, or is this something else with that name?
I have no godly idea.
You would know more than I.
I've read 21 volumes of Komi Can't Communicate, and I got bored with it. And then he says, the Cosmere RPG Roshar Handbook does have huge spoilers for Stormlight Archive.
Not too bad I already read it.
Okay. And then Warbreaker Chapters 17 through 21. So this one's from Alcade946. I noticed that Siri called the first letter of the book Shash. Makes me wonder if Sanderson has his own linguistic notes for the language in the world. I do agree that this is a very dangerous development indeed.
I would love to. I'm sure he has it somewhere where we could see like all his notes and stuff, like to keep because he's juggling like 50 worlds. I'd love to see his like specific binder he has for each world. Or if he does that on a computer program, or if he just has a million notes laid out everywhere in a horrible jumble.
So, some of what he uses is the official, the wiki of his stuff.
Yeah, now, but originally he couldn't rely on that, so I'd be curious to see.
Yeah.
Plus, you cannot trust a wiki. They have so many things. Whenever I use them for research on stuff, if you're knowledgeable, you'll find so many little things that are just like somebody implied. They think that an implication is canon. So that's dangerous. But the writer would be able to pick up on that easily.
Yeah. All right. And then Sister to the Rain 9. So she actually had a couple comments. I put them all into one. Make it easier to go through. Mm-hmm. And a couple of things were too spoilerish, so I just left them out. Right. So they say, I'm the wrong kind of nerd to understand literally any of your references.
Sorry.
Yeah. That always sucks.
I get the same thing sometimes when I listen to other podcasts. It's like, all right, yep, I understand the fantasy book stuff. All right, the anime stuff, yeah, I can understand that. And, okay, now you're talking about random YouTubers and, like, short videos and stuff. I don't know these. I don't know these streamers.
Dynamite.
Was it the Fat Albert stuff?
Hmm?
What
were we talking about?
But what Justin just said was not Fat Albert.
Oh, I know. I was wondering when they commented. Like, was it our Fat Albert stuff we were doing?
It could be. Or it could be any of the times.
Sheta?
Yeah.
For all I know, it could also be when we went on our talk about all the different ships of random stuff, and those were all over the place.
When we lost 500 viewers, and they never returned.
All right. So then chapter 17. When Vivenna finds the letters and is shocked by what they reveal about her father, it really says a lot about how she was raised. She thinks she was trained to be strong, but I think that what Dedelin really trained her for, and then cherished her for, was rigidity and adherence to Idrian values.
True,
Yeah.
He himself isn't acting in perfect accord with them, but he could raise his daughter to embody them faultlessly and think he was doing a good thing. He knew the rulers have to make moral compromises, but he deliberately didn't let Vivenna in on that, because he would have had to admit how many compromises he made.
That was a huge disservice to this poor girl if you're not just going to keep her sheltered for her whole life, you know?
A classic parent mistake.
And they say that's why I dislike him, because if you're going to raise your kid to be a martyr, you should at least commit to it. Preserving his own image as a wise, moral father and king took precedence over training an effective agent, which means Vivenna's childhood was doubly wasted. It's the incompetence that really gets to me. At least do wrong right.
See, in the first couple chapters, I gave him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he had some plan. Maybe he was this or that. But by this point, I'm like, no, he's just a dipshit. He's just stupid. And I really, I really agree and think it was really cruel of him to have her taught this way and then last second change it. It's so frustrating to me for her sake, you know, because whether she was sent or not, doesn't matter. She was not prepared for any kind of normal life at all. She can't even talk to, I'm sorry, what's her friend's name?
Parlin?
Parlin?
Yeah. She doesn't even know how to communicate with somebody like that normally. So even if she'd stayed back there, what kind of life was she going to have, you know?
Mm-hmm.
He's a bad dad.
So too relatable, I feel like. All the things she's unprepared for.
All right, chapter 18. Ciri's not my favorite character. Too much oldest child solidarity. But I do really sympathize with just how fed up she gets at this point and her creative solution.
Mm-hmm.
I always like the moments when characters just go, well, fuck it, why not?
Yeah.
Even if it makes things worse, at least it'll make things different. It's interesting that her defiance has always been aimed at gaining attention, even if it's negative. But now she has to learn how to be defiant while seeming to comply because of all the negative attention she's getting.
Mm-hmm.
In chapter 21, I love how unsubtle Vasher is. He just walks around leaving bodies with black wounds in alleyways, being obviously unkempt, and carrying a sword in the city where that's unusual. And then he goes and breaks into a god's palace, and his idea of misdirection is unleashing a hostile, undead varmint.
Those are the actions of a guy who does not give a shit if he's caught. That makes him seem really scary to me, actually. Like, really dangerous.
Nightblood is right. He's not a good sneaker, but he does pretty well despite his handicaps. I know some of this is deliberate, but as an unsubtle person myself, I just enjoy how he makes it work for him. I also love how his plans keep getting complicated because he keeps running into people who aren't utter bastards.
Yeah, it's like, he's nice. Dang it. I wonder if Vasher's all there. I don't know.
I'm curious to find out. I hope we do get to see more of him with how that last chapter ended.
Yeah, he seems kind of all over the place.
It's hard to get a beat on the guy.
And I wonder if the sword is in his head, you know? Not actually.
He's just crazy?
Yeah. Nightblood is just
think.
him, you know? It's like, yeah. So he seems kind of. I'm excited to find out more about him.
All right, and then Reader Warrior comment from this chapter. All right, since the West Wing should count, I'm picking The Good Place, probably for like the favorite.
I've never watched either, but I know of the shows.
Right. Chapter 20. Imagine trying to sleep with someone and they pull out Dr. Seuss instead.
You know that you've made a few mistakes in your life if that happens.
Which begs the question: which of his books is the dirtiest?
Dr. Seuss? Hop on Pop.
Oh no! Stop, Justin.
Walk It in My Pocket. That would be the one.
Well, Cat in the Hat Returns was literally about having to clean a bathtub, so isn't that the dirtiest?
Oh, yeah. That's what I meant too. Yeah.
I don't like that.
All right, I'll skip that one because I don't like that right now because that could. He says that this one might be a spoiler, but it might not. I'll just leave it because it could change different theories you'll have, and I could bring it up at the end.
Err on the side of caution with that.
Yep. All right. Then so this next one. Well, at one point, When one starts replacing body parts with that of a corpse, does it become necrophilia? Wait, was Frankenstein a necrophiliac?
Frankenstein was also Dr.
Yeah.
I think that there's got to be another word for when the thing is revived. That's what I can say. I'm sure there's a term for that. In fact, I'm going to check if there is.
Oh, be careful.
Justin's going on FBI watch list.
Yeah. Is there a term for when they come alive again? What are you typing in?
Speaking of Frankenstein, I just watched the trailer for the new Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein movie that's coming out this fall. It looks pretty good.
Yeah, I always like his stuff.
Well, and then last little part of this comment. Aladdin 3, and I Will Die on This Hill, is one of the best Disney movies, period. It had the same level animation as the first one. I think it would even... if it had the same level of animation as the first one, I think it would be even better than it.
I remember it was a pretty good story, but the first movie is really good.
I only saw Aladdin 3 once when I was a kid and rented it.
Mm.
And when I was a kid, I did not like it. I was bored. I just could not get into it.
There's no official term for it, but the closest I can find is a revenantophile. So you're attracted to revenants. That's the closest I got.
Okay.
If some listener is still listening for some reason after all of that and has a better pitch, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah.
The other thing I will say with Aladdin 3, I don't consider it a Disney movie because when I think Disney Animation Studios. Aladdin 3 is Disney Toon Studios. That's a
Joe,
separate...
Disney has watered down what is a Disney movie to such a point now that argument can't hold anymore like it used to.
Yeah, that's true. The standards of Disney, yeah.
Yeah, I do miss the good old days when the only official Disney sequel was Rescuers Down Under. Any other sequel they had was Disney Toons, which tend to be lower quality. Now, every damn Disney animated movie gets one or two sequels.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're all just franchises instead of one-offs, which were better.
100% agree.
And then you have the weird shit like Moana just got a sequel movie, and it's also getting a live-action remake. It's not even a decade old.
Strange times we live in.
And then his last line was, well, since The Lion King 1 was Hamlet, The Lion King 2 with Scar's son is Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, I'd say that. I'd agree with that, I mean.
So that's all the comments.
What was Lion King 1.5 then?
What?
So what
The
was
Tempest.
Lion King 1.5?
Lion King 1.5? Sure, we'll go with The Tempest.
Othello.
Macbeth.
Have you seen Lion King 1.5?
No, I've never seen Lion King 2. I don't know what the fuck any of you people are talking about.
I've never seen it either.
We gotta do a rewatch. A watch.
Yeah, no, I'm okay. I'm okay.
I've only seen the first one, and yeah, that's about it. Oh, and I watched the horrible, realistic one.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so those are all our comments we'll go over this week. So now it's time to look forward to next week. So chapters we're reading next week will be chapters 34 through 39. And now it's time to end the show with our plugs.
Plug, Profanity Beaver, social media, art, comics, go.
Plug. Instagram, Sheta_low art and crafts. Fashion and cosplay at Mermaid Machete. Webtoons, my brother's comic. Halt, TALT_low for his comic, Nutty World, which is completed its first section and is very, there's 6 parts out right now and it's very good.
All right, and then plug. Look in our description. You can find all those social media things. If you want to email us, cosmicchronicles@gmail.com. Leave us likes and reviews and all that jazz.
All that jazz.
Yeah, and if you think you could do a better job of singing and sounding more like Catherine Zeta-Jones, then maybe let us know.
Joe's replacing me.
With the real Catherine Zeta-Jones.
We might get more listeners if we do that.
I don't even know what we're referencing, but I'll see y'all next time.
All right, ta-ta.
Bye, everyone.